your gut messes up,
you're screwed.
you're screwed.
So the real question is, when you came home, did you come back and have everybody call you the dude? If you have diabetes, you have to watch this entire interview. You're gonna learn a lot. So Nick has diabetes. He just raced his bicycle 206 miles in Kansas, climbing 12,000 feet. This is the story of how he controlled his nutrition, what exactly he ate the entire day, and how he controlled his diabetes. You can learn a lot from an ultra endurance athlete, and maybe you can apply this to your own life. So here we go. You are the dude.
It was, a lot of people, you know, when you ride 100 miles, people will say, I don't even want to drive my car 100 miles.
Right.
Right, that's usually their first response to a non-cyclist. 200 miles, they're like, what are you doing? It was 15 hours, 14 hours and 55 minutes on the bike.
Yeah.
And then people don't really correlate dirt and bumping and all the stuff that goes on when you're spending 15 hours in the saddle. They're thinking smooth roads, right? So smooth roads, 15 hours in the saddle, started at 6 a.m., finished at 11 p.m., 17 hours total.
Yeah.
Flats, you know, frustration, the heat. It's about 90, 95.
Yeah. Okay.
I've
I've never been to Kansas, so I don't know what 90 in Kansas feels like.
I would have never had a reason to go to Kansas either, on purpose at least.
Yeah.
And it's the Midwest. It's humid. It is, you know, this big cumulonimbus clouds go by and you kind of appreciate that shade.
Yeah.
It's beautiful scenery. You know, Southern California, we're not used to green. Nothing
Right.
but green. Nothing but green.
Unless it's edited into our commercials on the rock.
It was in the Flint Hills of Kansas, so Flint rock is what was used to make arrowheads. So you had to spend a lot of time preparing your equipment to be able to go over sharp rocks. And that's tires and casing. And
So what did you, just out of curiosity, what tires did you have?
I ended up running the Kenda Flint Ridge Pros.
Okay.
I still got a flat tire.
What size?
40 in the front and 35 in the back.
Okay. And you still got how many flats?
I got 2 holes that required about stopping 4 times. It was a mess. I should have just threw a tube in there, but I tried to plug it, and it was on the sidewall. Ended up hitting the chainstay. It became another flat, and you know, I think I would have probably saved another half hour if I had just put a tire in it. But hindsight is always 20/20.
Yeah. Well, for next year.
One of the things they ask you when you finish is, you know, congratulations.
You want to sign
just
up?
beat yourself up again.
Yeah.
Are we going to see you next year?
Uh-huh.
And it's like, I can barely walk.
Yeah.
It's 11 o'clock at night. I've been up since 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Ask me tomorrow.
Right.
Save that question.
Right. Let me see a chiropractor for about 4 weeks, and then I'll decide. Right.
The weirdest parts of your body hurt, and I definitely think a chiropractor would have been a good idea.
Yeah, I would have made money there. Earlier, before we started filming, you said the hardest part to train, or the thing you need to train, is your gut.
Yeah.
So you want to tell your story about diabetes?
Yeah, so I'm a Type-1 diabetic. I'm 32 years old. I've been diabetic since I was 9, diagnosed when I was in 4th grade. I use an insulin pump, and the insulin pump is revolutionary in terms of technology in helping maintain my blood sugars. It has a continuous glucose monitor associated to it, so it'll constantly tell me what my sugars are. It'll also keep me balanced if I do nothing all day. So if I lay in bed all day and don't eat, it's essentially like a pancreas, but it's dumb. It doesn't know what to do when I eat. So one of the things that someone told me after the fact, after the race, and it really resonated with me, was you don't just spend time training on the bike. I was riding about 10 to 12 hours a week. You know, I've got 3 kids and a full-time job, so I can only do so much. But I was very structured in what I was training for. Long days, long hours, 6 hours at a time. But I never really thought about training my gut, right? And that person had told me that after the race, and I said, wow, there was a lot of people who weren't training their gut. These people would show up to the race looking super fit, but on the side of the road barfing at mile 120, or cramping, or out of it, they're bonking, right? They got no calories in them. And they didn't train their gut. And what they meant by that was, you have to be ready to eat weird things when you're riding a bike. So if you think about 15 hours in the saddle, all in all, it was about 8,000 calories burnt, and about 500 to 700 calories an hour, give or take. So you have to constantly replenish your body, and you only can carry so much. At some point, you're going to eat something weird, or you're going to try something new, and you're going to really throw off your stomach. And if your stomach isn't firing on all cylinders, the rest of your body's not going to work, right? You're not going to be able to eat. You're not going to be like enough calories. From a diabetes perspective, your sugars can go low, which is definitely a bad situation. At that point, you just stop and find something, right? Find a gas station, find a bottle of Coke. But training your gut is very important because you want everything to go right, and if you spend too much time focusing on the physical aspects of a long day like that, you forget about the digestive tract, your day is going to be ruined.
Okay, so let's talk about what you plan to do, like the morning of. What was your game plan nutritionally to maintain even blood sugar, and then what happened?
For me, ideal blood sugars are between 70 and 150. If you're not diabetic, you're right around 100, right? That's kind of your happy spot. So being diabetic, you want to kind of keep them in between those zones. My plan was so the race started at 6 o'clock in the morning. We had to line up at 5:30 just to kind of get towards the front. And my plan was to eat a peanut butter and honey and banana sandwich. A lot of carbs, a lot of fats, a lot of sugars in the honey. And that was my sort of nutritional plan, was to kind of put 500 to 1,000 calories into the tank. So that way, when I start going, I have a candle, a full candle, right? Throw in diabetes, right? That's a lot of sugar. That's a lot of carbs. You have to give insulin for it, and you have to try to start the race closer to that 150 mark. If you start at 70, you're too low. As soon as you start light matches, you're going to go lower, and it's not good.
Lights out.
Dangerous, right? Yeah. Don't want to go hypoglycemic. My plan was to try to start my blood sugars around 150. That didn't work. I had the sandwich. My sugars were about 223 when I had started.
Okay.
And it's not bad, but it's not ideal. Ideally, what happens is, again, not a doctor, but insulin's role is to deliver glucose to muscles, which is a very important
That's what doctors say.
aspect
so you're fine.
which is a very important aspect to exercising, right?
Absolutely.
You want your muscles to get fuel. You want your muscles to get oxygen and glucose, and you want them to be able to function. So I give insulin, right? My sugars are 223. You have to be cognizant, and it's, for a lot of diabetics, it's sort of second nature. You have an idea of what you're eating, you give insulin for it, and if everything goes right, your sugars are 70 to 150. Now, kind of throwing a peanut butter and honey and banana sandwich, that's a lot of carbs. You're trying to start a little bit high, but not too high, so it becomes a balancing act. So you're like, okay, I'm starting. I know that if I don't do anything, your body naturally burns calories, right? Kilojoules is how they measure it. It'll burn those as you're pedaling, simplistically, right?
Okay.
And if you continue to burn those, you're going to start lowering your blood sugars naturally. So I'll kind of get to my main point, but you're going to continuously burn those naturally. But at the same time, it's such a heavy carb, heavy sugar meal, if you will, like a peanut butter, honey, and banana sandwich.
Yeah.
You're going to want to, your body's going to want to keep going up. So you have to give insulin for it. So that was my trick. Was I know I started out high. The beginning of the race was hot. It was fast. I mean, in the dirt, we're averaging about 18 or 19 miles an hour, which is pretty.
Which is flying on dirt.
That's not sustainable for more than an hour.
Right.
For me. For the pros,
they're different.
But they're different. So my plan was to start at a good number. That didn't go according to plan. So you have to adjust, right? And my adjustment was, while I'm riding, I'm going to give insulin. And that in itself is risky because you don't know how hard you're going to continue going.
Okay.
You don't know how many calories you're going to continue burning, if it's going to constantly be 700, if you're going to back off a little bit and now you're closer to 500. But you need to sort of roll the dice, and I don't want to be high. I don't want to be low. Goldilocks it, right? You try to be right in the middle.
Yeah.
So I gave insulin, and I think my sugars for the first hour were pretty high. And this kind of goes into the train your gut idea, right? I had on board with me, I had 2 water bottles and a 100 or 1.5 liter Camelback.
Okay.
Everything was full of, sugar, sports mix.
Okay, so each bottle there was no pure water.
There's no pure water.
Okay, so
that was a mistake.
Okay.
One of the things they always say is at least have 1 bottle with regular water, if nothing else, to put on your back.
Yeah.
You don't want to dump sugar water. So that being said, I had started drinking, I gave insulin. I was worried about going low. I knew I needed to constantly eat calories. The plan was about 300 to 400 calories an hour.
Okay.
Knowing that I'm burning about 500 to 700 an hour.
Yeah.
I wanted to keep eating, so I said I'm going to drink my sports drink, right?
Okay.
And it had a powder mix, and you add water and you shake it up, and you drink it.
What powder mix did you use?
I used Scratch Superfuel.
Okay. Did you use that one in place of some other for diabetes? Is scratch better for diabetes?
I think the title of this video should be Train Your Gut. But
Train Your Gut. Okay.
I had been using it.
Okay.
But I hadn't been using the full serving size. So recommended serving size, which kind of blows my mind even to this day, is 7 scoops
in one bottle.
In one bottle.
Oh, okay.
Which is a lot. It's 400 calories
That
per
seems
bottle.
thick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very, very thick. So
THICK, not THICC.
No, you're so hip.
I actually am hip. I learned it from younger people.
Yeah.
And YouTube.
So the plan was to carry 1,600 calories or more, right, of liquid.
Okay.
It's hard to eat a waffle in the dirt, right? It's hard to eat a gel in the dirt because you're kind of bouncing around.
Okay,
no suspension, not a smooth road. So the plan was to eat, at least drink a bottle an hour. And the problem that I ran into was it was too much sugar for my stomach. My stomach really tightened up after the first, you think of it as a 206-mile ride. 2 hours and 15 minutes in, you're at 45 miles, 50 miles or so, my stomach started getting really tight. And what happens when your stomach is tight is you don't want to eat anything else. And what happens when you don't want to eat anything else? You're not stopping the calorie, you're not stopping the engine.
Yeah.
You start worrying about, am I going to bonk? I've got 160 more miles to go. This isn't a good feeling to have. So then you back off, right? You start slowing down. You start trying to figure out what is going on. Why is my stomach so tight? So luckily I was able to sort of identify that this is too much sugar for my
And that was
stomach.
early.
That
You
was
were early in the race.
It was
It's 50 miles.
Yeah.
You got a long time to go. Okay.
One of the things that a lot of people said was, how did you physically do it, right? And I think my general response is, 90% of the 15 hours is mental. 10% is physical. It's mostly above your shoulders. You have to be able to plan right, you have to be able to execute, but you also have to be agile if something goes wrong, right? Okay. You have to be able to make adjustments. So I noticed that the stomach was not functioning as designed. I wasn't able to eat anything else. I knew that I was burning calories at a quick rate. So I stopped drinking a sports drink, and I started focusing on just trying to eat solids, right? So that's I use the Science and Sport gels, which don't have a lot of calories in them, so it's not really helping from a calorie perspective. I'm just trying to coat my stomach with something else. I had the honey stinger waffles, very hard to eat. Not only physically trying to unwrap it and getting it in your mouth while you're bouncing around, but when your stomach isn't feeling great, you kind of put it in your mouth and it's like, this is just really hard to chew.
Yeah.
It was kind of a pain, but I knew that I had to eat something. I didn't want to throw up, right? Because once you throw up...
Were you watching your blood sugar at the time? Like what did it... So when you started doing this, what was your blood sugar? Do you remember?
They actually stabilized. And this is a really cool thing about cycling is once I got my blood sugar stabilized, around the same time my stomach started getting wonky.
Okay.
That was mostly in part due to the calories being burnt, but also the fact that I had been giving insulin as I was riding. Okay. One of the really cool things about that sort of caloric burn is that it's almost like not being diabetic. So here's context, and this is kind of how everything played out. I had drinking throughout the 15 hours about, and these are the little mini Cokes, but cycling and Coke go hand in hand.
They go hand in hand.
Coca-Cola.
If you can't find coffee.
Coca-Cola goes, I don't drink soda off the bike, but I'm a big fan of soda on the bike.
Yes.
Just a quick burn. I drink about eight or nine Cokes. 8 or 9 of the little cans, right?
Yeah. Well, that's...
I filled up I think it's about an 18-ounce, 16-ounce water bottle full of Coke. Drink that.
Wow.
12-inch Subway sandwich, which
Okay.
someone had, just gave me a sandwich.
Huh.
I ate half of a peanut butter and honey sandwich.
Is that where you got the Subway sandwich?
You can hire support through the organization, through the ride.
That's cool.
I think it's $80, and it was a pretty cool outdoor kids camp program that would do it for you. But anyways, they had a Subway sandwich at mile 156, and
so they raise money for their cause. You get an $80 Subway sandwich. But you know what? I'll bet you it was totally worth it.
It was. She had asked vegetarian or I don't even remember what the other option was. Said not vegetarian.
Yeah.
So she handed me 12 inches of whatever it was, and
it probably tasted fantastic.
I ate so much that day,
Yeah.
and I gave, other than the beginning from a diabetes perspective, I gave maybe a 20th of the amount of insulin that I would have had to give for 3 bags of Skittles, almost 10 Cokes.
Because of the burning.
Because of the burning. It's pretty amazing when your body, not a doctor, but there's a point at which your body switches right? It sort of has this transformation as to how it's burning its fuel.
Okay.
Whether it's switched to sort of burning fats or burning what's in your stomach as glucose, as immediate energy. But there's a point, maybe 6 hours, 7 hours in, where you get this sense like your body's behaving differently. And you can it becomes like a dump truck. You just dumping food in there just to get
You never felt that way, like in a 6 hour, like a century normally?
Not in that sense.
Well, hold on. He does centuries pretty fast, so it's not like your centuries take very long. Like, a lot of people want to know, wow, diabetes, what diet do you follow? They want to know what name of the diet is. Is it South Beach? Is it Zone? Is it keto? Is it carnivore? Is it vegan? Is it vegetarian? There's millions of different diets.
Yeah.
So aside from Unbound, how do you stay healthy during the course of a normal non-exercise day?
Seafood diet. I eat what I see. There's not much to it. I'm a big fan of moderation in anything, right? I don't not eat anything. Being diabetic, you have to be conscious about what you eat, right? And everybody has different goals. Maybe weight is one thing, right? If you're trying to lose weight, burn more than you consume. That's my strategy. You have to know your body. You have to know your burn, right? Obviously, we ride bikes with computers, and they have a chest strap that monitors your heart rate.
Yeah.
It calculates your kilojoules or your calories that you're burning.
Yeah.
You have to know your body, and I would definitely recommend to anybody, focus on understanding how you behave internally, and what does your body do when you do that, right? Ask your body those questions, and you'll get answers pretty quickly, positive or negative. But you at least know how to sort of tackle these events like this. 10 Cokes is not normal.
Yeah.
4 bags of Skittles, 3 bags of Skittles is not normal.
Yeah.
12-inch sandwich is not normal, right? That's just not normal. I don't do that on a normal basis. From a training perspective, right?
Yeah.
You have to you kind of plan your day out, right? If you're an athlete of any sort, if you're going to go to Disneyland, you're going to walk around for 6 hours, right? You have to give your body what it needs, right? Starving yourself, from my perspective, is you're going to cause more harm. Plan your day out, eat what's appropriate, moderate what you're eating, and to me, that's kind of my secret to diabetes, to being able to ride a bike. It's fun for me to talk to people, and I'll say people, but more specifically parents of kids who were just recently diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. 5 years old, 10 years old, whatever. And it's kind of surprising to hear the parents say, my child's life is going to be so different, right?
Yeah.
My child is going to be, climbing uphill for the rest of their life, and it's never going to be normal for them. And the first thing I say is, well, why do you think that, right? Well, they're going to have to test their sugars. Well, they're going to have to give themselves a shot, right?
Yeah.
Well, they're going to have to watch what they eat. Not a big deal,
Yeah.
right? So then you start talking to them and you say, hey, this is what I've done, right? I've got 3 beautiful daughters. I'm married. I went to college. I graduated high school.
Yeah.
I got a good job. I ride bikes. I have good friends.
Mm-hmm.
And they start kind of getting this sense like, sounds normal.
Mm-hmm.
I've been diabetic for 33 years,
Mm-hmm.
or up to 23 years, and it's starting to sound normal, right? And to kind of see a parent's eyes kind of lighten up and say, wow, okay, my son or daughter was just diagnosed, and this is proof that it doesn't have to be like the commercials you see of a diabetic. And I'll preface this, right? I'm not in perfect control of my diabetes, and I think that's really important to say as you see these people talking about how the things that they can do to be diabetic. My A1C is like 6.8.
Okay.
Ideally it's 6.5 or belowish, right?
Yeah.
I have some work to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something that's personal to me, and I want to get in better control of that. And that is the first step to being in control, is wanting to be in control, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what's really important to know is that, being able to ride 206 miles doesn't mean you have to be in perfect shape or perfect control, right? You just have to want it, right? You just have to want to attain that goal. And diabetes in itself is not a debilitating disease. We've got family members, cancer, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a tough disease, right?
Yeah.
It can always, my perspective is it can always be worse. And, I think with technology and medicine and doctors today with diabetes, you can live an absolutely normal life.
Last question. Are you ever going to take that shirt off?
I did. I rode my bike 206 miles, and then all I got was a shirt. All I got was a shirt.
Have you washed it?
Yeah, it's
Okay,
been
good.
washed. It's been on the plane. I tell you, it's a pretty proud. You know, I thought of my daughters a lot while I was riding out there. You can do hard things. My big message is you can do hard things. Just be smart about it.